Hello, my name is Kenneth Murphy, and I have the honor of taking one of the statues of Our Lady of Fatima to people's homes here in New England. I recently heard a very encouraging story about a lady called June, but it starts off in a sad way. June had left the Catholic faith as a teenager, and she moved up here to Maine, near Staceyville. Well, the years went by, decades went by, and then June received a very difficult cross to carry, and that was a granddaughter of hers had become addicted to heroin. She took charge of taking care of this granddaughter, and over the years she became very worn down and tired and saddened by the addictive nature of this heroin, which was destroying her granddaughter. Fortunately, a neighbor of hers took notice. That neighbor, after a conversation with her, went home and began to pray to Jacinta. Now, Jacinta had just been blessed at the time, so Blessed Jacinta, she was praying to her that Jacinta would introduce her neighbor, who had left the Catholic faith many, many years ago, back to Our Lady. Well, she did that prayer throughout the night, and the next day, June called, and June said over the phone, "You know, the oddest thing happened last night. I woke up wondering where I had left my rosary." Well, fortunately, June did find her rosary and began to pray the rosary. Well, this gave her, it didn't take away the cross of taking care of her great-granddaughter, or her granddaughter rather, but it did make it much easier for her to carry that cross. She continued to talk with her neighbor about the faith, and then one day asked about the Blessed Sacrament. So her neighbor described the Blessed Sacrament, and June said, "Well, in our West something church, we have the Blessed Sacrament too." And her neighbor, who was normally very suave, very polite, very gentle, her neighbor said, no, you don't, it's not the same. So June was kind of surprised by this reaction and said, "Well, how can I learn more about the Blessed Sacrament?" And her neighbor recommended that she make an appointment with the local Catholic priest to learn more. Well, she talked to the priest and decided to return to the Catholic Church. Well, the story doesn't end there either. This thankfully brought her back to the faith, but not her goddaughter or granddaughter. Her granddaughter unfortunately continued to be addicted to heroin, and this past winter overdosed on heroin and almost died. She was rushed to the hospital, thankfully got better. Now, originally the prayers of June's neighbor was just for June to come back to the faith, but both of them started to pray for this granddaughter to finish with heroin. Thankfully, after that near-death experience, that granddaughter has been able to resist the temptation of going back to heroin. Now you can see its fall. Fortunately, she still has not gone back to heroin. So hopefully with your prayers and with June and her neighbor's prayers, she will continue her recovery. All right?